name is Emily Davis.
Hi, and I'm Alexandra Fahey.
Okay, so to begin our video, we would like to give you just a little bit of background information in regards to an approach to the looking glass. It was a study done in 1986 by Hershberger, where he created a looking glass world, where he had 40 food-deprived chicks, and they were split into 4 different groups. These chicks were placed on a runway, like this right here, containing familiar food bowls, like these, and they have little Easter peeps inside. And it moved when the chicks moved, and it always moved in the same direction as the chick. And so here we have our experimental chicks right here, and our control chicks right here. So I'm going to explain to you the groups. So for half of the chicks in the experimental group right here, the cup moved twice as far as the chick. So here it's moving twice as far as the chick. It's moving in the same direction. And for half of the control chicks, these chicks right here, the cup moved half as far as the chick did. So here it is moving half as far. And for half of each of these groups, the cup alone moved, just the cup. And then for the remainder of the groups, the chick's total physical environment as well as the cup moved. I will now give it off to Alex, where she will explain a little bit more in detail about what the environments looked like.
So in this study, the researchers split the chicks into 4 separate groups, and each group consisted of 10 chicks. There were 2 positive feedback groups and 2 negative feedback groups. The control groups consisted of group R negative and group S negative. The experimental groups were placed in a bottomless wood box like this, with its own frosted windows. It stood upon a plate glass mirror floor to create the looking glass world. In this world, the food bowl receded from the chicks twice as fast as they approached it. They could never feed by approaching the bowl. Instead, the chicks kept running toward the bowl, but thereby lost the available food. They could only approach the food cup if they walked in the other way. So here's the chick, and he's going this way, and he can't get the food, so he's going to look a little sad.
I will now explain to you what the control chicks were like. If the control chick group, they were placed in a topless wood box, so like this, it's topless, and it also had frosted windows like the experimental group, and the food bowl moved half as far as the control chicks approached it, and these chicks still appeared to perform well, so it did not appear to affect their performance.
So we're just going to pause for a second and let you think about that. And this information may be a lot and a little bit confusing, but... So I bet you guys are wondering why the researchers actually chose to do this experiment. Well, this experiment was used to test the prediction that instrumental behaviors, in other words, the goal-directed behavior of an organism, are seriously impaired by changing just the simple polarity. In other words, the structure of the actual environment. The researchers wanted to test what is called the closed-loop thesis, which states that the visible environment is moved in the same path and twice as far as the chick. This would cause an increase in the approach response, meaning that there's a behavioral inclination to approach rather than avoid certain stimuli, and it is measured in the difference in reaction time. In other words, the chick continued to run toward the bowl and lost access to the food. This caused an impaired performance.
so now we're just going to give you just a little bit of an overview of what the environments looks like. I'll come up closer. This is a top view of the environment, physical environment, and then this is a side view of the physical environment. We just use a box just to kind of give you guys a little bit of an idea of what it looks like, just to kind of help you. So now, let's look at this experiment a little bit more in depth. So, for half of the chicks in the experimental group, this group right here, they had their total physical environment as well as the cup moving. So, here they are, they're coming towards the cup. In order for this chick to get to the bowl, he had to actually withdraw from the bowl. So in other words, he actually had to move away from the bowl if he wanted the food. But instead, this chick right here, and these chicks in this experimental group, he was unable to suppress the urge to approach this bowl. So instead of withdrawing from this bowl right here, he kept constantly chasing the bowl. So he looked sad, like Alex said. And the chicks in the control group, when they had just their cup moving, like we said before, this did not appear to impact their performance. I will now turn it over to Alex.
So, in conclusion, in order for the chicks to gain access to the food bowl, they had to overcome the Pavlovian bias, and that bowl acted as a conditioned stimulus in the situation for the food, and the food was the unconditioned stimulus. The chicks, like we said, continued to run toward the bowl anyways. The S plus group had performed the worst, and the control groups, which were groups R negative and groups S negative, actually performed the best. So this concluded that it was Pavlovian conditioning because responsiveness to the RO contingency should have allowed the chicks to run in the other way.
Okay, so let's look at the implications for this experiment. In the psychology lab, determining the approach bias is commonly done by finding the difference in response time on trials. So what are some of the implications in the real world? We actually found in our research that there is a relationship with the approach bias and drug use, alcohol use, and cigarette use. So this is very interesting to us because we actually found the approach bias may lead to problematic drug-related behavior, like addiction. So, for example, alcoholics have a craving for a drink, and this is connected to higher bias cues. So, in the real world, people that have drug-related behavior, sometimes they're unable to suppress the urge they're unable to withdraw their response, so they can't suppress the urge to go towards those drug-related behaviors, and this can cause addiction, and that was very interesting to find in our research. I'll turn it over to Alex.
So essentially, it's not clear yet if the approach bias is purely Pavlovian condition response because it has not actually been tested on humans in the psychology laboratory setting. Humans are perfectly capable of adapting their approach behavior, and further studies need to look into the aspect that this is not purely Pavlovian conditioning, because the article also stated that if the stimuli was closer to the chick, they reacted in a faster way than if it was further away from them.
So thank you for you guys' time.
Thanks for listening.
Yeah, this was really interesting.
It was very interesting.